You stole my heart of gold after my silver soul. Can you dig any deeper now? I gave you all I own, put you on this golden throne, but I'm a little stronger now. You cashed in on my promises. You know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out, 'cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now, a little stronger now.
ladies and gentlemen, the Freaky Fast broadcasting on your Tuesday night. It's the Full Send Racing Series back to action after we had a long break taking off last week because of Thanksgiving. Hopefully, those in the States enjoyed your feast as we get ourselves prepared to feast on some great racing for the On the Throttle Podcast 200 here at Auto Club. We're ready for it. It's the start of a new round, the round of 8. As we've got 2 races for this round. The drivers that have made it forward is going to be that of Brian McCann, Zach Hall, Ken Campbell, Christopher Norris, Ross Tatum, Brandon Colley, that of Travis Dart, as well as Chris Ditz, able to emerge out of the round of 12 and now getting themselves prepared to advance forward in the championship hunt for the Season 5 championship. Thank you so much for joining with us once again here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth is going to be Trevor Earhart. And Trevor, a nice break, but it's time for us to get ready for the action here at the beast of a track, Auto Club Speedway. Drivers know this track could be a tough one.
Yeah, nice little break, but here we are at Auto Club and Track. You know, Sam, 2 miles long, multi-groove racing, pack racing for a little bit. Tire wear is going to be kind of key here, but kind of a wild card track. We've seen some wild finishes here in the past. You think back to the truck race a couple of seasons ago that saw John Dart get a win in a miraculous turn of events on the last lap. And here we go again in the first round of 8. Anything can happen, and this could really set some guys up needing an importantly good run next week when we get to Bristol.
Yeah, I mean, surprise finishers have really been here at Auto Club. Like you said, John Dart last season only led 1 lap, and it was a surprise takeaway last season. And then the season before that, for Season 3, was Joshua Altus, based off of fuel and tire strategies that got himself into victory lane. But the one consistent has been Ken Campbell. He has gotten the pole and has led the most laps, and being one of those drivers that's still in the hunt for a championship tonight. He's hoping to grab that glory, get the win, and lock himself into that championship race because this round, it's Auto Club in Bristol. 2 very different tracks that they got to deal with, and it's going to be a fun one for us here tonight to give you the action at Auto Club for 100 laps in total. But like we said, we had last week off, so if you forgot what the last race was, it was the final race of the round of 12, where we had to see Ken Campbell utterly dominate at Nashville Super Speedway, locking himself into the round of 8. But we had to say goodbye to 4 drivers that made it into the playoffs, but their season comes to a conclusion. Ken Campbell, missing out on last week's race, was eliminated. Joining him was Tony Brent, as well as Will Bustler and John Dart. Those 4 drivers, it's for some was a success just to make it into the playoffs. But Trevor, I know for Cameron Sarton, it was so close, not even showing up, that he almost made it into this round.
Yeah, it came really close. I believe within a couple of points for making it into this next round, and just didn't have enough of a buffer even after some good runs to get through at Nashville, having missed that race. But you know, still a couple of races to get some wins for himself, build some momentum going into next season, and I'm sure the 2-time champ will be trying to do just that.
Well, currently the 2-time champ is top of the board as we are concluding practice currently. Got less than a minute to go. Top drivers right now, Cameron Sarton, Brian McCann, Zach Hall, Christopher Norris, Ken Campbell, and Brandon Colley. Colley was one of the first drivers that really found some good speed. The times have been fluctuating, though, because of the help of having themselves any type of having draft help. That's been the big thing, is how is the draft going to help drivers? How is it going to hurt them? But Trevor, track position. With how large this track is, 2 miles in distance, a lot of width on both sides for drivers to go anywhere from 3 to up to maybe 5 to 6 wide at moments. This track certainly is going to be a tough one for the drivers if they don't get that track position because of that dirty air.
Yeah, dirty air is going to be key for these guys here tonight. You're going to want to be up front. You've got plenty of room to make passes, and you can't make passes here if you have the draft help. The problem is, if you get caught there in the back of the pack, it's going to be really hard to get up through the field. You're going to burn your tires up quite a bit doing so. So these guys are going to want to get to the front as quickly as they can and try to stay ahead of as much of that dirty air as they can. But, I mean, this track, Sam, always puts on a great show with the amount of different grooves that these guys can take.
Different grooves, and we've had plenty of parity. If you look at the drivers that got themselves a pole award this season, we've had a total of 10 different drivers get a pole, and we've got a tie of 7 drivers that all have 2 poles and a driver that's trying to join and getting a pole award for themselves. Ken Campbell, like I said, has gotten the last 2 poles at this track when they were in the Xfinity car and in the trucks. I mean, when you've got that consistency, Trevor, I think with the 15 certainly is one of those to watch out for. but the rookie Brian McCann has been on the hunt for a championship, as well as Zach Hall, who is a driver that we know can be very fast at these tracks, who's been fast at Michigan. He's fast here at Auto Club. I'm curious what the 32 is going to have on track for qualifying. As we take a look at Cedric Hunter in this pink Hello Kitty machine, getting ready to tackle the first lap here at Auto Club on the warm-up, and about to get ready for the first lap is this 7 machine. Just missed out on making the playoffs, but does know how to be quick at these larger courses, riding high, building up the speed and momentum as Cedric Hunter starts to get ready for lap number 1.
It's going to be interesting to see what he does here on lap number 1. Some guys elect to take that first lap as a warm-up lap, get the car up to speed, get the tires warm. We'll see if he takes the preferred qualifying line, arcing it down to the bottom, or if he's going to stay high here and keep trying to build that momentum for this race car. And looks like Sam going to take this first lap as kind of just a warm-up lap for himself and set himself up for his pole attempt on the second lap.
Yeah, I mean, with this track, how large it is and the different aspects you can tackle, going to the inside and getting to that white line is very important for drivers. Some feeling like they want to run that fast lane every single lap. Others, like you said, going for a warm-up lap of riding the outside lane and build up as much speed as possible. So when you exit out of 4, you've got maximum amount of momentum to start your final lap. These drivers only have 2 laps to put down their fastest time. Cedric Hunter going to be the first to put a lap down. And that starting lap actually going to be grabbed by the 6 of Jonathan Burt. It's a 40.7 as other drivers start to tack on. Chris Stitz flexing his muscles up in first place. But do you want the fast lap and be on top of the board on that first lap here, Trevor?
That's going to be the question. I mean, it comes down to what people prefer in qualifying. Chris Stitz electing to go for that fast lap on lap number 1, running a 40.665. With, in contrast to what we're seeing Cedric Hunter does. Cedric Hunter, the slowest of cars to put in a lap so far with a 43.3. So we're going to have to see what kind of advantage he might get out of this as he comes across the line to complete his second lap.
More drivers come across the line, but it's a 40.665 from Chris Stitz, who's got the top board for now. As I say that, though, Ken Campbell, the driver's gotten the pole here the last 2 seasons. He takes it away with a 40.493. 200s faster than Brian McCann and Christopher Norris. Top of the board with that 38 machine with 2 minutes and 16 seconds left. That is surprising. Look at the board and how it's shifting currently. There's a couple of other drivers that are going to wait late for qualifying. Ross Tatum, one of those that's waiting later on for qualifying. But Trevor, Christopher Norris, a shocker, top of the board for qualifying.
Yeah, great run for Norris and kind of continuing his surprised run through the season. Got the win back at Spa, has been really consistent all season long. And now with a great qualifying run for himself, potential pole for that 38 machine, Sam, coming into tonight +2 to the cutoff line. So this is kind of the start that 38 team needs here tonight.
Absolutely is. That bubble spot, not a comfortable position, just +2 over Tatum, Colley, then +4 over Travis Dark, +5 over Chris Stitz as Trey Jackson going to be up to 3rd place as Philip Chavez, one of the leader drivers, to put down a time. It's going to be 13th best for Philip Chavez as seeing other drivers on their cooldown lap. Here is Ross Tatum on his last lap. What will the 21 have as he's having a little bit of blinking issues for the 21 machine. But at the exit of turn 4, he's got to hope that blink did not take away his lap time. That would be crucial error. And if sometimes it can take away, but down to the apron, minimizing the track distance. And Tatum up to 5th place with a 40.542, but not close enough to top the board on Christopher Norris. But Cameron Sarton, with 50 seconds left, it's practically just 1 lap. This 24 has to put down the fastest time.
Yeah, basically with how long these laps are, got to get a quick lap in this time by. Electing to go out really late here in qualifying for the 2-time champ, but we'll see if he can get that 24 machine up the top of the charts here. And he's had speed, Sam, this season. We saw the inconsistencies last season in the trucks, but this season in the Xfinity car been a lot more consistent with his speed.
Yeah, and I thought for sure with Cameron starting so quick at the short tracks, if he had just made it into the round of 8, he might have been a threat to try to make the Final 4 and go for his 3rd championship in this series. Not the case, but across the line, Cameron Sarton's 1 lap for qualifying. Doesn't look like it's going to be a big jump up for himself for the pole, but inside of the top 10, it's 6th place for that 24 machine. A solid qualifying time as the ticker clocks over. We are done with practice. We're done with qualifying. We got ourselves 26 drivers prepared and ready to tackle Auto Club Speedway. 2 miles in distance, 100 laps, 200 miles. And these drivers are set up and ready to start the round of 8. whose journey continues on for a championship? We'll have to wait and see as drivers are starting to grid up as we get to take a look at our starting grid. Where will drivers start out here this evening? Well, the biggest shocker, it's Christopher Norris, who finds himself with the pole and now will take the top leaderboard of having the most poles so far this season with 3. In second place, we'll find ourselves with Ken Campbell, Trey Jackson in third, 8 Sheena Brian McCann in fourth, Ross Tatum in fifth, 6 goes to Cameron Sarton with Christopher Wade in seventh, William Duff going to be in 8th place, Cedric Hunter in 9th, and 10th will be Andrew Medlin in the 12th machine.
Brandon Colley will start 11th with Will Bustler in 12th. Ryan Lynch will be 13th with Tony Brent in 14th. Chris Stitz will start in 15th with Philip Chavez in 16th. Last season's champion Zach Hall all the way down at 17th position. A bad qualifying run for that 32 machine with John Dart starting in 18th. Jonathan Burt will be 19th and Alex Jones will start in 20th.
Texas Speed driver in the 11th machine of Tyler Thomas will be in 21st spot. Jay Beckard in 22nd. Sam Siegel in the 55 will be in 23rd position. Travis Dart, though, furthest down of any of our final 8 drivers in the Elite 8 round, will be back in 24th position with Christopher Melton in 25th. In 26th will be Peter Dillon. 26 drivers in total. But Trevor, you've circled of drivers that are kind of Cinderella stories at times. That of Travis Dart, making it to the round of 8. That is a huge success for the 26. But what a mountain he's going to have to climb. Already down 4 points just coming into tonight. Only back at 24th. This is going to be rough for Dart to get back into this fight because he's got to make sure he gets a top 10 finish here tonight.
Yeah, he needs to get a top 10. He needs to get some stage points as well. And starting all the way down there in 24th, going to be tough for him to get up there in the field. And kind of surprising. I mean, we've seen the qualifying speed out of the 26 machine all season long, been up inside the top 10 in a lot of our qualifying efforts, and had the speed to kind of back it up. We noted on his struggles to have long run speed, been a lot better this season, but the uncharacteristic qualifying run for himself is going to set him up for a long night.
It really will be. As the drivers are rolling off, we get ourselves prepared for tonight's race. Again, the start of the round of 8, race 1 of 2. Next week will be Bristol, our last race of the round. See who will run for a championship at Kansas. For tonight's race, it's the On the Throttle Podcast 200. Go check out On the Throttle Podcast, wherever you can find podcasts. Their most recent episode 78, recapping the NASCAR Championship weekend and how NASCAR has concluded the 2023 season. You'll listen to that of William Duff as well as Trey Jackson on their thoughts on how NASCAR's been going. As the rest of the field get prepared, tonight will be 100 laps in total. Stage break at the end of lap 25. No fast repairs. 4 extra sets of tires in pit road. The draft's going to be important, as well as making sure you get clean air. But drivers also have to know there's been an average of 4 to 5 cautions every time they come here at Auto Club. So avoid the big one. Don't be involved in a wreck. Stay out front and make sure you've got a chance to get into victory lane as the field waits for the pace car to pull off into pit road. Once again, welcome back to Freaking Fast Broadcasting. Hopefully you enjoyed your vacation with the holidays. It's time for us to get back to racing action. The Full Send Racing Series round of 8 is underway for the On the Throttle Podcast 200. Ken Campbell, Christopher Norris roar down into turn number 1.
On the throttle they go, and Ken Campbell with a really good jump on that outside line might clear his teammate of Christopher Norris down into turn 1. Norris going to dive it all the way to the bottom, the white line. Campbell all the way to the top. The 8 of McCann kind of running the middle. Trey Jackson sliding up. He's going to lose a position potentially to the 21 of Ross Tatum, but it's a drag race down the back straightaway. Norris, Campbell, McCann trying to figure out who he wants to help as they head down into turn number 3.
Christopher Wade not comfortable off the exit of turn 2, went straight down the apron, and for qualifying inside of the top 10, now all the way down to 26th position is that 53 machine. But Ken Campbell, Christopher Norris teammates up front continue to stay side by side. Who's going to take that first lap? It's Ken Campbell, the driver that's gotten the pole the last 2 seasons. Well, he did get it this season, but he's out marching for the most laps led potentially here, but he's got to be worried as Brian McCann of the 8 machine dives it down low for second place. The 8 looking quick as he's tackling that front battle.
Campbell trying to pick up where he left off 2 weeks ago at Nashville, getting back up into the lead, trying to lead the most laps, get a win. Norris, though, with the draft assistance off his teammate, going to pull back in front of the 8 of McCann. McCann, the Michigan winner, the kind of the sister track to Auto Club from earlier this season, trying to make that inside line work to get to the inside of Norris and hold on to second, but they're going to have to give that back up and fall in line in front of Ross Tatum as the field starts to single file out here on lap number 2.
Lap 2 in the books, and the rest of the field, you see the middle of the pack still looking pretty jostled. Top 6 in line. And trying to figure out how do we want to tackle. Do we stay in line, protect our tires, or do you get aggressive? Use up your rubber now. As Andrew Medlin stuck to the outside lane. He's got the one of Will Bustler on that inner groove. And Will Bustler, a Talladega winner, to start the playoffs off. Certainly a driver that knows how to get the victory lane of these bigger tracks. And he is fast at these, the sister track of Auto Club at Michigan. This one could be a threat to watch out for later on, as same for Andrew Medlin. It's the driver behind them in that pink Barbie machine. It's the 99 of Brandon Colley that I'm most kind of interested in seeing how his night's going to progress for that 99 machine. What speed is he looking for, or is it a consistent night for Colley here tonight?
Yeah, that's the real question. His pace kind of just been all over the board. He got the win back at Richmond to get himself into the playoffs. But you think back to last week at Nashville, I know, comparing Nashville to here, you can't really do that to two completely different tracks, but he just did not have the speed last week, barely made it in to this round based off of where he finished at Nashville. So we'll have to see if he can bounce back and find some speed in that 99 machine. And right now, trying to figure out where he wants to go. As you can see the cluster cars in front of him, Trey Jackson, Cameron Sarton, Andrew Medlin, Will Bustler, Colley, all side by side trying to jostle for position.
Trey Jackson, a great qualifying stop for the 88 machine, qualified in third, but the 88 starting to struggle as we look back from the rear end of the 99 of Brandon Colley, seeing Cedric Hunter and others trying to make their charge forward. In that group is 17 of Chris Stitz, as he's trying to make his charge forward, but certainly drivers are going to be trying to figure out, again, it's the picking and choosing. Do you want to be aggressive now or later? First 5 to 10 laps here at Auto Club can be so crucial of, it can really hurt your long run pace if you're too aggressive, but you also can give up too much time that you can never gain back. We've seen that same scenario happen to Ross Tatum, but he's really learned on how not to do that anymore, as they're 3 wide in front of this group. It's Medlin as well as that of Sarton, as Russell will fall back in line for these drivers. But Trevor, that same mentality of giving up too much time, these drivers know they cannot afford to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with Ross Tatum. You kind of touched on it there. The typical driver to give up the positions, then come charging back late into a run. This season, though, hasn't really been able to do so. Drivers have gotten a lot better at saving over the course of the run. So that strategy of kind of giving up 5-6 positions early on and getting it back hasn't really worked out. So you kind of got to adjust your strategy. You got to find that happy medium between aggressive and saving and not giving up the track position that these guys have to figure out. And it's a short run of the stage, only 25 laps. So do you be a little bit over aggressive and kind of learn from that going into the second half of this race?
Right now, the drivers up front, they're in line trying to conserve as much as they can currently. Let's take a shot of Ross Tatum, qualified in 5th, has moved up just 1 position, now up to 4th place for this 21 machine. He has Brian McCann, the driver that's won the most this season. Brian McCann has been a threat ever since the Clash first showed he was going to have a lot of speed. We weren't sure how much of the speed he was going to come into until he started rattling off wins. Started off back at Chicagoland, then won Michigan, New Hampshire, Charlotte, Las Vegas. It's the 1.5 miles and bigger tracks that we know Brian McCann is a threat at. We know tonight could be a big one for the 8. 21 as well has shown speed at these larger tracks for himself and trying to carry that forward. But I do want to drop back to 14th position. Travis Dart talked about the poor qualifying run in that of 24th position. Biggest mover right now, up 10 spots, but still outside of our top 10 to get those stage bonus points.
Yeah, I was just looking at the timing board and saw that he cracked the top 15. Great start for himself, but needs to find about 4 or 5 more spots to get up there into the top 10, get some stage bonus points. Right behind him, Zach Hall in the 32 as well, trying to move up a little bit from his poor qualifying run. But these two caught the tail end of that kind of lead pack draft now. So Dart catching up to the 77 of William Duff, who's kind of at the tail end of what I would call the lead pack. Zach Hall a little bit behind him, but this should give the 26 some draft help to kind of get up there. Maybe you start battling with these guys and catch up to Cedric Hunter and the guys inside the top 10.
Apparently the drivers that are inside of our playoffs, so lead 8 that are outside of our top 10, no, not in stage point collecting windows. Chris Stitz in 11th, and you have Travis Dart 14th, Zach Hull in 15th, trying their best to move forward if possible, but it's looking very tough for those 3 drivers if they can gain any more positions as the field continues to race on. 9 laps in the book as they start lap 10. But a condition that we kind of talked briefly about, tire wear It is here. It is already showing drivers are just that of 8/10 slower than some of their best times. Some drivers are already a second slower than their fastest lap, just 10 laps in as we're closing in closer and closer to the halfway zone of this stage.
Yeah, and it's kind of the interesting characteristic about Auto Club. You think of it kind of like a super speedway racing with how important the draft is, how close these guys are on top of one another, but then acts just like any other mile and a half tire wear is super important here as it can really, affect how your car handles, how you can keep speed and maintain speed off the corners, which is really important here. So drivers are gonna have to be careful about that. And looking back, here's John Dart back here battling with Alex Jones, Tony Brent, our Daytona winner, Tyler Thomas as well in the 11, all back here battling for 16th on back to that of 20th.
Battling in this backpack of middle to back half of the pack really is always a fun grouping to watch later into this race, as they are always running for their best finishes they could ask for, trying to maximize on points. It's a pleasure to watch as we're 11 laps into this race, starting to see a little bit more movement throughout the field of drivers bouncing forward and backwards on making passes. As Jones taking that outside lane, maybe lose a little bit in the center of the corner, but you see that massive run the 45 just got, staying side by side and inching forward, and now fully clear. That outside lane does have speed, but you have to be careful on making sure that car stays underneath you when you exit the corner.
Yeah, really easy to get loose off the corner, really easy to get into the wall too, just drifting up a little bit too high, and Alex Jones using that outside line perfectly to his advantage right there, getting by John Dart in 5, and here comes the 11 of Tyler Thomas trying to do the same thing. We'll see if he goes as high as the 45 did that last time by, or if he elects to kind of run a more middle line and electing a little bit lower line than the 45 there in front of him, but nonetheless still going to get a pretty good run here, I believe, on the 5 of John Dart out of turn number 4.
And you just see that rocket ship of the 11, the momentum you can carry on that outer groove, and also having the drivers in line, the draft help on the straightaways also kind of pulls the driver, as John Dart didn't have anyone in front of him or behind, so he was stuck not getting that assistance. But these drivers are ripping the top. Jones scraping the wall just slightly and allowing these drivers to be 3 wide off the exit. And Tyler Thomas should have the momentum to solidify for both those positions, but they continue to stay side by side, and they'll stay 3 wide into 3.
Yeah, didn't quite have the full momentum down the back straightaway. John Dart there using a little bit of the side draft to pull the 11 back, and still going to be a little bit 3 wide here through 3 and 4, but John going to have to give that position up to the 11 of Thomas, and he's going to be side by side with Alex Jones there down the front straightaway. But Jones, that little bit of contact he had with that outside wall really killed the momentum of the 45 machine. You can see kind of how important that momentum is to have, especially down these long straightaways. And right now, still in that battle here for 18th, 17th, and 18th positions. They head through 1 and 2.
Heading through 1 and 2 in this back group. Again, always a joy to go back and watch if there's not much else going on in front of them. Some drivers, though, have been making moves inside of our top 10. Chris Stitz has made it into the top 10, but he might not be staying there for very long. The 17 did a similar thing with Alex Jones, brushing the outside wall on the entry of the corner. The 17 trying to get a little bit too much in that Mountain Dew machine.
Yeah, and just trying to get a little bit too much. Thankfully, these cars can take a little bit of a scrape, a little bit more durable than the trucks were last season, so they can take a little bit of a scrape, but definitely something you don't want to do a lot over the course of this race, especially with how aero-dependent these race cars are. So a little bit of side damage could really hurt that 17 machine, and right now, try not to give up a position of the 26 there of Travis Dart, who was looking to move up into that 11th position and try to run down Cedric Hunter, but might lose a position to the 3 of Ryan Lynch, who's kind of held steady where he qualified, now looking to the inside and trying to bring that 32 of Zach Hall with him.
Zach Hall, the way his car was shaking in there on that stretch, kind of looked like he wanted to make a move, but just was boxed in, not able to make any dashing gaps to the inside, the middle, or the outside. But let's actually right on board with one of these drivers up front, because I'm curious, Trevor, something we haven't touched on yet. This track surface, Auto Club, no longer going to be used in real life racing, but this scan of Auto Club, a very aggressive track on the bumps, as we're going to be right now on board with Kyle, getting a sense of what these drivers are sensing just on the straightaways into the corners.
It's like a mini roller coaster. It's really bumpy down the back straightaway and through the corner. A little bit smoother, still got some pretty big bumps. You can see him bouncing over there, a little bit of wheel movement, trying to get that car straight, kind of slide the car through the corner is how these drivers attack it. You got to straighten it back out to get off the corner exit, try to keep all that momentum. You see down here through 1 and 2, there's some pretty good bumps down here into 1 and 2 that they have to cross over and you can just see everybody fanning out different lines. You got cars at the bottom, cars at one seam up, two seams up, all the way to the wall in the middle of the racetrack. I mean, this is what makes Auto Club so much fun, and what was a fan favorite on the NASCAR schedule.
It really was a fan favorite. Unfortunately, Real Life Auto Club getting demolished now, but luckily on iRacing, we've got this scan, and drivers love to race it on all the different opportunities and driving styles you can attack this course with. As we were on board with the 99 Brandon Colley, these drivers seeing the lap times tick away. Again, we do have a stage break here this evening. At the end of lap 25, we will have a caution. The caution flag happens within 5 laps to lap 25. That will also count as our stage break, and only the top 10 drivers get bonus points. The winner of the stage gets 10 bonus points, second gets 9, third gets 8. It continues to dwindle down 1 point until we get to 10th place, where that driver gets just 1 mere bonus point for themselves, as drivers really trying their best to stay up front. The driver that's trying to crack the top 10 and just gain some positions, no longer in the hunt for a championship. It's Andrew Medlin with our Medlin cam. You can see those hands really working off the exit, trying to keep this car pointed straight as the loose sensation started to kick in a little bit more.
Yeah, the loose sensation kicking in, the always focused Andrew Medlin, but a caution.
Caution's out, and it's drivers in the back. It's Christopher Wade and Christopher Melton getting involved with one another off the exit of turn 4. As the back half of the field was starting to get a little bit more racy with one another. It looked like Christopher Melton, catalyst for this incident coming out, just was searching for a little bit too much of the track and ran out of space with other drivers around him.
Yeah, let's just take a look back and see what happened between him and Wade. But Sam, an interesting spot for this caution to come out is we get the tail end of it there. But lap 19, not sure if this will be the stage or will we see some pit strategies. I think we're having a little bit of trouble pulling the replay up, but you can see the 2 cars there in the grass. So I would take a guess that maybe a little bit of contact off the corner exit there, Sam.
Yeah, it was that contact there. Christopher Melton rushing up and then went down into the 53. But it was Christopher Melton actually coming up into Alex Jones, who was running the top lane. And Christopher Wade, he was blinking, and I don't think he knew that Melton was there and just ran into the 93 as he was coming back down the course after his initial contact with the 45 on the outside lane. So that's going to be our first caution of the day, and it's going to be right around that bubble spot of this race. About to have we might have a 2-lap shootout here. Trevor, based on the number and the timing of that caution, we might have a 2-lap shootout on scene. Who's going to be getting them stage points? So now is a crucial time and moment on the track, as drivers are going to have that hard decision. Do you pit now, or do you wait for the stage to make that pit stop?
Yeah, I was wondering if this was going to count as the stage or if we were going to see.
Ooh.
And it's a split decision. Everybody from, Stitz, he's going to make its pit road barely going through the grass there, thinking about a late move back onto the racetrack. But it looks like a split from Cameron Sarton on back. Ryan Lynch stays out. I believe Zach Hall stays out as well. So interesting call here. Half the field down pit road, the other half electing to stay out.
I feel for that of Zach Hall and others coming into pit road might have been a very crucial time if you want to get some points. But again, there's some drivers that come into this race with some massive bonus points because of the way that they've been performing with wins and other playoff points you can grab. Brian McCann had a 28-point buffer coming in tonight, so he can do whatever he wants really tonight. It's really, as long as he doesn't wreck out. 28, the 8 machines in a good spot with that 28-point buffer. Zach Hall came in second in points, 15-point buffer. I feel like he needed some stage points to feel a little bit more confident going into Bristol next week, but for Zach Hall, he's going to be right around that buffer zone that these drivers have just got fresh rubber. They're going to be ripping the top and blasting by this field that decided not to come into pit road, but they're thinking about strategy calls for after this stage.
Yeah, they're going to have the track position after the stage, and you're going to be a little bit nervous if you're Ryan Lynch, Alex Jones, Sam Siegel, Zach Hall, those guys there at the back. They're going to be the first guys that these cars on new tires are going to have to get around, so it's going to be a little bit nerve-wracking for them. I think if you're Ken Campbell, Norris, McCann, you might be safe by the end of the stage. It might not get to you, but this is definitely going to be a wild restart with the difference in tires.
Drivers are waiting for that 1 to go marker once the pace car lights turn off, and they're expecting it now, as there were no lap cars to give their laps back for the Lucky Dog position. So these drivers are going to get a nice little shootout. 3 laps in total. As race control, going to be Steve Benjamin. A huge shout out to Steve Benjamin, who's been race control for this series all season long. It's been a pleasure to have Steve Benjamin helping out, being that extra eye in the sky for this field, giving instructions as pit lane closes in 2 laps. But I'm not expecting anyone to hit pit road, because if there is a caution, that will count as our stage break. So the field knows this is it. Get inside the top 10, maximize on your stage bonus points, as our stage will be at the end of lap 25, or if a caution flag comes out before then. Ken Campbell going to be your lead driver with Christopher Norris in second. Our top 10 drivers going to be on older tires, as they decided not to come to pit road. Everyone else just got 4 tires in fuel. Trevor, I've got a feeling this is going to be very dangerous for those 10 drivers that did not pit.
Yeah, I think they're going to be kind of sitting ducks for these guys. The first 2 on 4 fresh tires is going to be Will Bustler in the 1, Trey Jackson in the 88. Then you've got, Chris Stitz, Travis Dart back there. Those guys are hungry for these stage points, so they're going to be trying to work their way up. And I mean, I fully expect by the time we get to turn 1, maybe out of turn 2, Sam, to see cars all the way from the white line to the wall, blocking up this racetrack, trying to get everything they can.
Well, if you've ever wondered why this track is as wide as it is, you're going to find out very quickly. This track at Auto Club Speedway is a joy to watch, but when scenarios where you got half the field on old tires, the other half with freshies, you get pleasure action like this. Who's going to survive? Let's find out. It's the On the Throttle Podcast 200 is back into the restart zone. A little bit of wheel spin from the top side as drivers ramp it down up to speed down into turn number 1. Who's going to survive the first stage here at the end of lap 25 when the stage concludes? And already 3 wide, almost 4 wide down into turn number 1.
Yeah, they are 4 wide into turn number 1. Bustler, Duff, Siegel, Cedric Hunter goes through. There goes the 17 of Stitch trying to get through. Colley with a big slide out of turn number 2. They're going to be 3 wide down the backstretch with him, Sarton, and Zach Hall 3 wide behind them with new tires trying to get through. I mean, it's 3 wide almost in almost every part of this racetrack as everybody fans out trying to get everything they can.
Big drivers to watch out for. That's the 26 and the 17s. Chris Stitz, Travis Dart. Those are the 2 drivers in the playoffs still that decided to come into pit road. All the other playoff contenders decided to stay out as the field goes down into turn number 1. 2 laps to go on the stage, and Trey Jackson able to move up to 7th position, but staying down low, really trying to use up that speed, but every time he tries to move up, almost gets caught up in a wreck. Speaking of wreck, Zach Hall, Chris Stitz able to survive as they're 3 wide in the middle of the field, but it's pandemonium. Drivers on those older tires are almost a full second slower than those that just got fresh rubber. The closing rate is massive. Ken Campbell, Christopher Norris still hold on for the lead, but for how long as they exit at turn number 4 from the white flag of the stage?
Zach Hall got hit by the 1 of Will Bustler, almost wrecked himself as Travis Dart and Stitz go by, but Trey Jackson with all the fresh tires and all the momentum on that inside of the line trying to get the lead. He's side by side with Christopher Norris going into turn number 1. Going to get that spot away, going to drive right past the 15 of Ken Campbell, Cedric Hunter, Will Bustler trying to do the same on the bottom. Here comes the 12 of Medlin, the 17 of Stitz. The new tires on the bottom blowing past the old tires on the top side of this racetrack.
They're making aggressive moves, and Chris Stitz needed to gain a little bit more, some slight blocks deeper in the pack, but Travis Dart, biggest loser, not able to get inside of the top 10 just yet. He needs big points. Chris Stitz is doing a great job advancing forward. He might be able to grab just 2 to 3 positions here off the exit turn 4, but Trey Jackson coming across the line will get your stage win as the 88. What a decision and a call as they cross the line. That will be your stage yellow. Congratulations to Trey Jackson in the 88 machine. Getting your win here on the Throttle Podcast 200 at the stage, and what a fitting stage to win for one of the hosts of the On the Throttle Podcast group. But Trevor, certainly there was a lot of action to cover there, but somehow everyone kept it straight, neat and tidy. There were a couple of blips here or there, what could have been big wrecks, but ultimately we survived.
Survived. I'm not sure how. We saw 4 wide, 3 wide, almost 5 wide at times. A little bit of contact between a couple of drivers, but everyone keeps it straight. Trey Jackson, the stage win. Big winners in that, though. I mean, look down. Travis Dart gets 2 stage points. Chris Stitz having a great stage finish up there in 6th. Brandon Colley not getting stage points, coming in +2 to that of Tatum. Coming in -2, not getting stage points. That's going to hurt him with Campbell and Norris both getting stage points. But Zach Hall, the biggest loser, I think, out of all of that, was up inside our top 10, Sam, and now we're going to be outside the top 15 all the way down to the 18th by the time that the stage ended.
but they're gonna have the fresher tires here at this stage. You give up some time to get it back, hopefully later on. And that was the hard decision for drivers that came into pit road, knowing that we were gonna have a 3-lap shootout, was if we go aggressive, take our tires now, we're gonna be at the disadvantage once we go green. But grabbing those stage points could be a big help for Stitz and others that decided to take those tires as the field's preparing to enter pit road. I think this is going to be another split decision of who decides to come in, and if drivers come in, most likely those that already took tires just going to top off on fuel. If anyone takes 2 sets of tires, it's going to be massive to only have 2 to work with from here on out.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting call to come down and take 2 sets of tires that quickly. Looks like a couple of fakes from pit road from drivers that already pit, but here comes everybody else that didn't pit there at our stage break, led by the 15 of Ken Campbell. Chris Stitz actually damn down pit road after he had taken tires at the stage. So interesting call from the 17. Is it going to be fuel only, or is he going to be aggressive and take another set of tires here?
I feel like for Stitz, it's got to be just fuel only. You cannot afford to just throw away 2 sets in 4 laps. That is a wild thought to do. And I'm watching the 17's pit stop. It looks like it is just fuel only. Topping it off, going to get back out there on track. Might also think about repairs. I know some drivers got really close to getting themselves into damage. And don't want to grab any more of that. And actually, a huge surprise, Stitz did take tires.
He took tires. I can't believe that he just took 2 tires after 4 laps. But, I mean, when you come in -5 to the cutoff line, 2 races to go, Bristol being the next race, why not roll the dice and be aggressive? And that's a very aggressive call from the 17 team.
A wildly aggressive call by that team as the field is getting ready to get back out there on track. Trey Jackson going to be the lead driver for himself. Cedric Hunter going to be in second. But man, everyone making that decision in a quick call of where do you want to be for that charge. Interesting moves all around, and I'm curious on what was going on with Chris Stitz, and why not give a call to that 17 machine and see how he's doing out there. Going to be back in 14th position. Let's see if we can queue up the 17 of Chris Stitz. Stitz, it's Sam and Trevor up the booth. You got us?
Hey, sorry.
Hey, Chris. No problem. I know it's pretty loud out there. We're trying to talk to everyone you can. Chris, we saw that you just made the decision, use another set of tires. What's going on with that call being out there on track?
Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I can't hear anything. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, it's all good. As we're having trouble with Chris Stitz, we're going to send him back to his team then, as we're going to get him back to green flag action. Thought maybe we can get a queue up with 17, but hey, every once in a while, Trevor, you know, audio issues pop up, and we're pulling up drivers that sometimes they're ready for it, and sometimes the audio system says, nope, we're not talking today.
Yeah, the fun part about online simulation racing is sometimes your audio device where you hear each other doesn't work, and you're kind of just left in the dark. And looks like Stitz having a little bit of radio issues, but Sam, nonetheless, aggressive call from Chris on taking another set of tires 4 laps after he took his first 4 sets of tires for these guys. So he's got 2 sets left for the rest of this race with 1 guaranteed pit stop that he's got to make. So, I mean, it could work out for him, but if we get a couple of late race cautions at the wrong time, that could really hurt this 17 car.
I mean, like I said before, the average for cautions has been anywhere from 4 to 6 cautions. It's been the window throughout a race. We've already gotten 2. So it means that we might have 2 more waiting in the wings of who could bring out our next yellow. But currently, it's drivers deciding to stay out. Going to be on slightly older tires are going to be our top 10 deciding to stay out. Now, it's not as big of a difference as what we saw with that 3-lap shootout, but still going to be a pretty massive difference on how these drivers are going to attack, having ran 3 green flag laps into the restart zone. No more stage racing. Who's going to win the On the Throttle Podcast 200? Let's find out. 71 laps to go, and Trey Jackson, Cedric Hunter going to be your front 2 down into turn number 1.
Down in turn number 1 they go. Cedric Hunter going to dive it all the way to the bottom of the racetrack, try to clear that 88 machine. Will Bustler trying to do the same to the 12 of Andrew Medlin. Travis Dart just kind of following in suit. Hunter going to get the lead at turn number 2. Trey Jackson with the crossover move down the back straightaway as those two continue to battle for the lead heading into turn number 3.
You want that clean air. It allows you to go into these corners feeling a little bit more comfortable. That nose is going to be slotted and allowing you to go through these corners. But Trey Jackson, Cedric Hunter, right on top of one another through the center of the corner. And the 7 gonna have the advantage off the exit of the corner. Top 5 pretty gapped out from the rest of the field. As the drivers, first of those on freshest of rubber, going to be Christopher Norris back in 11th place. Not a lot of movement from the 38 machine. Up front, it's Will Bustler that's actually on the charge.
Yeah, Bustler closing in. Hunter and Trey Jackson, they're really battling hard with one another. Drove each other all the way up to the wall almost into 1 and 2. Hunter going to go with the crossover move. Bustler trying to close in. Top 5, like you said, kind of spread out. It's all the way back to John Dart. They're in 6th. It's kind of the second group. He's got the 11 of Tyler Thomas, his teammate, and the 28 of Tony Brent there, as well as the 6 of Jonathan Burt. The Texas Speed guys having a really good run, all nose to tail with each other, with the 10 of Jay Becker as they try to close in on their top 5.
Trying something a little bit different, taking that first set earlier than everyone else, but still taking that track position. That could be the key for later on in this race. Trey Jackson back to the point after having the lead. Way being our stage winners, the 88. Cedric Hunter not wanting to give up any more ground, though, continues to fight side by side, and you can see the gaggle of cars also still back and forth battling for those inside of our top 15. As the drivers around 10th, 11th, 12th, back to 14th that are up and down, using up every little piece of this track.
And trying to find any little bit of momentum, speed, positions they can possibly find as everybody's kind of stacked up on top of one another. Jay Becker going to battle with the 21 of Ross Tatum Norris, looking to try to make it 3 wide going into 1. He gets shut off from that attempt heading into 1. Now it's going to open the door for the 24 of Cameron Sarton, who's going to dive into the bottom. Norris, though, finding room on the outside of the 10 of Jay Becker. Here comes Sarton to the inside. Is there going to be 3 wide out of 2 with the 10 in the middle, and he's falling back as Stitz, trying to look for any room to find himself a couple of positions here as they head into turn number 3.
This is one you've got to be trusting your in-game audio that's telling you what's spotting for you. Hey, you're 2 wide, 3 wide, you're clear down low, you're clear up high, so you know what information you need to make aggressive moves. The only driver with an actual in-person getting the call-outs and in spotter is the 8 machine of Brian McCann, and he's getting a great view of all the madnesses. Brian McCann as well as Zach Hall back in 17th and 18th position, just watching this madness in front. For Brian McCann, it's got to be very helpful to have an actual person in his ear. Having a real-life person can allow you to tell you, hey, this outside lane's moving faster, the inside lane's moving faster, where to avoid, where to attack.
Yeah, having that advantage of a real-life spotter for that reason right there, giving you updates on what line's going, who's falling back, who's going forward, as opposed to the standard iRacing spotter that just tells you, hey, you're 2 wide, hey, you're 3 wide, type of thing. Really helpful for that 8 machine to see he's just kind of watching and waiting what's going on in front of him. And kind of the theme that we've seen over the last couple of seasons after the stage break, typically one big wreck when everybody's grouped back together. Haven't seen that quite yet. So these guys may be back there with Zach Hall, McCann, Colley, playing it a little safe, letting this race play out a little bit in this early part of the run. Let the aggression die down before they try to make their way forward. As you can see down the back straightaway, just everybody on top of one another.
And I'm curious if maybe it's the mindset of, hey, we have the potential of staying green. It's going to be a far-fetched, if that happens, is we're on the blimp cam getting a really good shot of all of the action in front and behind of the 8 machine. Stuck in the middle is Christopher North with Chris Stitz, but these drivers that are deciding to stay further on back, like Brian McCann, Zach Hall, Brandon Colley, these drivers are making that hard decision of, I'm going to stay back. And maybe it's because they're thinking, hey, we can jump these drivers once green flag pit stops happen, if we're able to get to that point.
Yeah, it could very well be setting yourself up for that, pit strategy later on in this race that could really turn the tide for you. We've seen it with Joshua Altus a couple seasons ago, being able to survive on fuel and get the win. It could be in the thoughts of some of these drivers as they, run around here setting themselves up for what could be a final green flag pit stop later on down the road. But I think for a lot of these guys, Sam, it's about survival over, through these first opening laps of aggressions. We've seen cars all over the place, aggressive moves, drivers trying to get past one another. Kim Campbell's battling here with the 6th of Jonathan Burt. Zach Hall trying to find a way through. McCann and Colley just sitting there waiting, watching to see what line opens up and which line has the better run.
A little bit of mix and mingle of drivers getting into the outside wall as Chris Stitz and others get a little bit of monkey see, monkey do as come off the exit of 4, getting close to the outside wall. Some rushing it, some will just be very close to contact. Currently, there is a little bit of mixture of drivers that are on the tires going backwards as that is the Texas Speed drivers of Brent, as well as Burt as driver in the outside wall. That's Tyler Thomas, who has a big scrape on that outer wall. Texas Speed, that gamble of staying out, it looks like it's hurting them at this moment as they're starting to fade backwards.
It's about the third time I think I've seen Tyler Thomas brush the wall out of turn number 4. The 11 machine kind of struggling on these older tires as he gives up a position to the 24 of Cameron Sarton. 17 of Chris Stitz looking to make a move to the inside. Jay Becker is sitting there. Ryan Lynch as well in the 3. All just kind of lining up, waiting to, or I'm sorry, that's Christopher Norris in the 38. I'm sorry, lining up, trying to find ways by each other. And as a driver, you got to be weary of knowing, hey, that car's gotten to the outside wall a couple of times. Maybe I need to give him a little bit more space on corner exit to avoid potential contact.
This action in the middle field is so memorable, so just kind of get you in a trance of just watching this chaos drive back and forth. And as this chaos has been going on, a lot of back and forth has also been happening for the lead position. Our top 4 have been swapping back and forth. Currently, it's Will Bustler leading the race, as Travis Dart was leading for a quick moment. Cedric Hunter has fallen back to 3rd. Trey Jackson back to 4th. And currently 5th is Andrew Medlin, as the one machine holds steady up front. Again, like you said before, he is quick at these 2-mile courses. The sister track back at Michigan was also fast there for Will Bustler. Almost found himself in victory lane at that course just a season ago. And this season, Trent grabbed his 2nd win, got his first in Talladega, and his 2nd come here at Auto Club.
Very well could. Got the speed, got the clean air. Let's see if he can maybe just hold on to it, kind of, you know, block the lines, block the runs as much as he can. Travis Dart, though, Sam, with that strategy call, finds himself up into 2nd with a chance to get a really good finish for himself here. As behind him, the 88 Trey Jackson, the 7 of Cedric Hunter, they go to battle. But I wouldn't count out that 26 as well. Will Bustler's got the speed, but Travis Dart could be an underdog story. We've seen his brother do it at Auto Club last season. Can Travis pull the same kind of Cinderella story here tonight?
Well, speaking about his brother, Jean Dart, back in 6th place. He's also in touching distance to try to move forward. And one of the last drivers that's still up front is our top 6. The drivers decided to pit early and take that advantage back before the stage was over. Jean Dart just got caught by Ross Tatum, Cameron Sarton, Chris Stitz. Those are the drivers that decided to pit at our stage break and have about a 3-lap advantage on their tires, slowly making the charge forward. They've been running for that. You see Ross Tatum, Cameron Sarton, and Chris Stitz about 2 to 3 tenths faster than this lead pack. So I'm watching to see how quickly they can try to dispatch the rest of the field and make their way forward. As John Dart gets a little bit scooped on the outside lane, Cameron Sarton's got to dash down low. He'll be going 2 by 2 for a little bit of action here from 7th back to 10th.
Yeah, a little bit of a brush for the wall out of turn number 4 for the 5 machine. It's going to allow Sarton to get to his inside. Here comes Chris Stitz doing the same. Ross Tatum in front of him, working that inside line, trying to get past the 12 with Andrew Medlin. A little bit of draft help off the back of the 7 of Cedric Hunter is going to allow that 21 to clear the 12. Sarton clears the 5 machine, but John Dart going to have a pretty good run with draft help from the 24 to stay side by side with the 17 with Chris Stitz as ahead into turn number 3.
The Tampa, Florida native can try to make his way forward for Andrew Medlin inside. Very close pinch with Ross Tatum. As Tatum works that outer groove, the 21 patiently waiting for this swing kind of movement to get longer into a run. Usually you see the drivers that are waiting, saving those tires, finally able to strike as quickly as they can, and the 21 is doing just that. In 5th place, seeing some action in front. There's 3 wide in front of this 21, which can be slightly complicated if you're looking for some clean air to work with. But it can be also tough for some of these drivers. A little bit of action, though, deeper in the field. A big slip up by the 3 of Ryan Lynch that spooked a lot of drivers as well as other Texas Speed drivers losing some ground. Hold it steady, almost had it right back half the field.
Yeah, just about. And everybody keeps it clean. You get the 8 of McCann back there kind of in all this chaos as Tony Brent's in front of him. Jay Becker right there behind him. Ryan Lynch, Tyler Thomas, William Duff, Christopher Wade all back here. And for McCann, kind of surprised, Sam. Everybody that took tires with him, that he was running up there in the front with Christopher Norris, Ken Campbell, Zach Hall, those guys kind of pulled away from this 8 machine. Brandon Cawley up there not too far in front of that 8 machine. His contact, and there goes
Jay
the 10.
Beckard. Jay Beckard gets sent down to the inside after his driver makes contact with the outside wall. That was Tyler Thomas, who then gets into the 10 machine. And that is not going to bring out a yellow flag, but for Beckard, takes the toe to pit road. Hard contact, and his race looks to be done for the 10 machine. Another unfortunate timing for the 10. This is practically what Jay Beckard's season's been. It's just an innocent victim moment every single time. As you see the 11 of Tyler Thomas wiggles, gets up in the outside wall, loses it, comes back down, and Jay Beckard, the innocent victim, gets tail slapped and sent to the inside wall.
It's just nowhere for Becker to go in the 10. And like you said, that's just been the story of his season. Has had speed at times, and then at other times he's been caught up in incidents that aren't necessarily his fault. And right there, hard contact with the inside wall, and that's going to be night done for the 10 machine. As he'll probably pack it up, Sam, and we'll see him next week at Bristol. But as those little bits of mistakes, a little bit of contact with the wall can really upset these cars, and we saw it right there. Just tail slaps the 10, and to the inside wall he goes, and night done for Jay Becker.
Field continues to race on as Will Bustler leads the way, but for how long? Because Ross Tatum has caught up to second position. This 21, the last 3 laps, is just making the surge forward. Other driver trying to tag along was the 24 of Cameron Sarn and Chris Stitz. They're doing a great job just swapping back and forth. But Ross Tatum, no longer will he fall in line with the 1. He'll take the lead position. Ross Tatum back to the point as this 21 machine gets a win here tonight, locking and booking his ticket to the championship Final 4 at Kansas. And this 21 really wants to just get it done, not worry about Bristol next week, where anything could happen at the last great Coliseum.
Yeah, get it done and over with tonight. Get the win. Lock yourself in. Don't have to worry about lap traffic or just running too hard with one another next week in Bristol that could cause you to have issues. Came into tonight -2 to Christopher Norris. Norris not too far behind, trying to battle with Chris Stitz, but for Ross Tatum, what could really be a good momentum boost going into the championship race at Kansas. You think back to when he won his championship in the Xfinity Series a couple seasons ago, the sister track, a similar track when they ran the championship race at Vegas, would be great for him if he can get locked into Kansas in 2 weeks.
And trying everything to get up front, not worry about next week is Ross Tatum, but he's also got other drivers that have the same mentality for tonight's race, as our whole entire top 12, top 13 now, drivers all within 2 seconds of one another. They are all clustered up. Anyone can still have a chance to fight forward. And this grouping is starting to show the wear and tear for those that decided to pit and take the stage bonus points. They're starting to fall backwards as we're marching to the midway zone. Trevor, these drivers are now at almost 30 laps into this run for those that decided to pit early, compared to those that pitted at the stage. They're only 20 laps into this run. Fuel is soon to be a question for some of these drivers out here.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe around the 50, 55 mark, we'll see pit stops for these guys. So for the guys who came in on that first caution around that of, lap 20, so lap 50, 55, maybe 60, we'll see these guys come down pit road. And for the rest of the field, probably around 70, 75, I would think. I could be wrong. I didn't get a fuel number here tonight, but that's kind of what I'm thinking on a 2-mile racetrack, so we'll have to wait and see. But pit stops, I'm sure, Sam, for these guys that pitted before the stage break, going to be happening relatively soon.
Hey, we talked about relatively soon. Well, one driver further in the back already making the motion. That's the 6, so Jonathan Burt saying he's going to be coming to pit road, which I'm not surprised. He was one of the 10 drivers that did not pit at our stage yellow. Going to get service done as well. Joining him going to be teammate of Texas Speed, the 11 of Tyler Thomas, who might be staying in a little bit longer to get damage repaired. Brandon Colley, as well as John Dart, going to be side by side. Other drivers almost 3 wide. Cedric Hunter and others continue to falter back. Travis Dart, Hunter just continue to go backwards. And now it's Zach Hall and Ken Campbell. They're on the surge to try to get back inside of our top 5.
Yeah, Hunter trying to battle with the guys that are on the same set of tires as he is. Travis Dart, Will Bustler, and those guys on the same strategy. Then you got Stitz, Norris, Zach Hall, Ken Campbell on the newer tires trying to get through. So you've got kind of 2 separate battles, at the same time. Old tires battling for position, new tires battling for the same position, trying to work their way through one another. Zach Hall going to take it to the inside of the 26. 26 going to take it to the outside of the 7 of Cedric Hunter. They're going to be 3 wide for a moment through 1 and 2. We'll see what kind of run that Travis Dart can get. Zach Hall gets kind of pinched to the bottom. He's going to lose a little bit of time to the 7 and the 26. He's going to have to regroup and try to make a pass on both these drivers again.
Very aggressive moves all around. This is that time where you have to be aggressive. Make a move. If you hesitate and you don't complete a pass, you waste a lap or 2 to get that momentum back. for yourself. As we are getting closer and closer to the halfway zone. I know the action's ramping up, but we have to take a break here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you so much for joining with us here at the Full Set Racing Series. This is the first race of 2 for the round of 8, as the drivers have been putting on a great show for the On the Throttle Podcast 200 at Auto Club. Thank you for joining with us. We'll be back seeing where the drivers are with the pit stops underway. Welcome back. We are at the chaos. Drivers are 2 wide, 3 wide, and oh no, Brandon Colley with the big slide. The 99 into the grass for a quick moment, gets back on the apron. Woo, a big scare, and the drivers are starting to feel the tires fading away. The same moves that they were able to do just 15 laps ago. They're not able to do it now as we're inching closer and closer to the pit window. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart. You are watching the Full Set Racing Series playoff action for the round of 8. First race of 2 in this round. And the drivers that are just inside of the top 10 are giving us the best show at this current moment as we're inching closer and closer to pit stops. We've got about 4 to 5 drivers that need to hit pit road in the next 5 to 8 laps. The rest of the field can go another 10 to about 13 more laps as the field is still showing some great action. Trevor, it's a couple of scares, but in the fight, in the mix, it's the 8 of Brian McCann who's been saving his tires for this exact moment.
Yeah, he and Brandon Colley both kind of saving their tires. We saw there when we came back from commercial break, the hold your breath moment for the 99 machines. He was 3-0 with King Campbell, Will Bustler, and a little bit of contact with the 15 of Campbell. Almost sent Brandon Colley through the grass. He gave up a lot of positions, but McCann, slow and methodically, working his way back up through the field, got around Stitz, now into the inside of Bustler. The 26 of Travis Dart there, trying to catch up to the King Campbell, Zach Hall, and the rest of the guys in front of them. Is that slow and steady, patience that he showed really starting to pay off for that 8 machine.
It certainly is. Some drivers have already hit pit road, that being the Texas Speed drivers of Tyler Thomas, as well as Jonathan Bird joining them, Sam Siegel, and also Christopher Melton just hitting pit road. None of our front runners, though, have shown any signs of coming into pit road and making their stop, nor have the drivers that pitted before our stage break back at lap 20. Before our stage break at lap 25, so drivers a lot of different strategy calls on what they wanted to go for. And up front, it's Cameron starting to lead the way. Ross Tatum just losing that battle and pass as we're seeing Jonathan Burt, who's got fresh rubber, just showing that closing rate difference. And another driver who's starting to close in, Christopher Norris in the 38 machine, our pole sitter, back inside of the top 5, and now battling for 3rd.
Yeah, just slowly closing in on these guys with those fresh tires on the same set of tires as Sarton and Tatum. The one kind of standout in all this, the 7, is Cedric Hunter, Sam. I mean, he took the lead. We saw him battling for Trey Jackson, one of those drivers that pitted before the stage break on those older tires, actually running really good in that 7 machine, past the 38, and now trying to run down Tatum and Sarton. But Norris just trying to hold on and get a little bit of toe off that 7 to close in on those 2 in front of him.
Trying his best. A little bit of a scrape by Ross Tatum there. You saw the puff of smoke by the 21. Wasn't a big enough graze to lose all of his momentum, but close enough to stir up the dust right there on the exit of the corner. And all these drivers recognize, okay, we are getting to that end of the stage. We're getting closer to pit stops. How do we hit those marks, especially hitting pit road? This track, very unique on how fast you're going around this track, but also how are you going to get into pit road with some of these drivers right on top of one another? That is going to be all on communication. And Trevor, there's been times where drivers haven't communicated, and we've seen disaster.
Yeah, we've seen it a couple of times, and that's going to be key, calling out when you're going to pit road with the different grooves that these guys can take. Getting to pit road could be kind of treacherous as you slow down through turn number 4, getting onto that pit road stretch, and if you got a car behind you, you don't call it out. Easy to run over of the guy pitting and cause a caution. And we'll have to see what happens once we start getting through this cycle, get more drivers down pit road, what's going to happen. Then you got to get in and out of your box, not speed, and give up a lot of time on this racetrack.
So much time going to be given up. Is the undercut the better call? Is it waiting till later to hit pit road? Well, first of our drivers are inside of the top 10. Will Bustler over the radio saying he's going to be coming into pit road. John Dart over the radio saying he's pitting. It looks like this could be the chain reaction with 40 laps to go on drivers coming into pit road. And looking at some of the pacing and times, this could be the last pit stop of the night for some of these drivers if they're able to save enough fuel. But you cannot make a mistake on this pit entry. Also joining the crew that just hit pit road, going to be Andrew Medlin and Philip Chavez making their pit stop as the front group still marching on top of one another. This is the battle for 5th. Zach Hall, Brian McCann. Who's going to have 5th before they make their stop in pit road?
That's the question. Who's going to get 5th? Cedric Hunter makes a pass for 2nd. So proving that the old tire is not that big of a deal, as he's been one of the faster cars on track. But back here, McCain gets around Zach Hall. Colley going to have to fall in line behind Ken Campbell in the 15 machine. And Campbell, after the dominant opening performance of this race, really hasn't been able to keep up and get back up there in that dirty air as we move back forward. You see the 7 of Cedric Hunter clears the 21. Now trying to run down the 24 of Cameron Sarton. And Sam, that 7-lap advantage of tires not phasing the 7 machinists. He's a 10th quicker than our race leader.
He's faster, he's been protecting those tires better, and for Cedric Hunter, this is an incredible feat to watch because he stayed out the longest of any other driver that has been staying out. Other drivers that are trying the same feat, as the driver gets loose off the exit of turn 2, is Brandon Colley, who has another major skip for the 99 off the exit of turn 2. But for Cedric Hunter, this is incredible pace, the 7 showing, and this has got to be scary for the rest of the field because if Hunter pits around the same zone as these others that are still out on track, this 7 could be the threat to win here tonight.
He very well could be. I mean, if he can stretch this out and kind of pit within 1, 2, maybe 4 laps of everybody around him, I'd really be afraid if I'm that of Cameron Sarton, Ross Tatum, Christopher Norris about that 7 machine and the pace that he's been able to have on these older tires. Definitely going to be one to watch out for. But the question is going to be, when do these guys make their pit stops? Other drivers struggling, like you mentioned, Brandon Colley with a slide. He's able to hang on and stay in that 7th position. Actually got around Zach Hall, but you know, everybody really starting to struggle on these tires apart from it appears to be this 7 machine.
The drivers on the radio call saying they're going to be coming into the road is going to be Travis Dart as well as going to be seeing the 80 of Trey Jackson making their stops. They're part of the crew that decided to stay out. But the first of the drivers that pitted at our stage, Brian McCann, no word over the radio, just over the text chat, and the 8 makes it into pit road.
Interesting call from McCann. Early pit stop, I would think, from the 8 machinists. He's coming down with drivers that pitted before he did. As you can see, the 26 Travis Dart with a huge mistake getting into his box, Sam.
It's a massive slide. He's trying to now angle his car to where service will be done. This is costing over 20 seconds of wasted time, and he finally is able to get those tires up.
Too much rear brake in the car, and that's one of those in-car adjustments drivers can make. It looks like Ross Tate and Chris Stitz, they're going to come down pit road this time by, but one of those in-car changes you can make. Changing the brake bias, a little bit too much rear brake, trying to get into his pit box causes the 26 to spin out, but able to get in his pit box. But a lot of time lost for that 26 team is more cars down pit road, Sam.
More cars hit pit road, and one that's still out is Cedric Hunter. He's been out on track 45 laps now. This is incredible. Finally over the radio, making the call that he's coming into pit road this time around. But Cedric Hunter went from being on the back foot to he could be on the advantage here, staying this late.
It really could be. I mean, you think about it, he's pitting one lap after Brian McCann. Now coming to pit road with the likes of Ken Campbell, Christopher Wade, Stitz, Zach Hall, Brandon Cawley, Christopher Norris, all down pit road at the same time at the 7 machine. And I mean, he was up there battling for the lead with the 24 of Cameron Sarton. And I mean, if he has a good pit stop, Sam, he's one that you have to watch out for the rest of this race.
Might have missed out on the playoffs, but we knew could be a major threat. Was this 7 machine of Cedric Hunter? As the drivers entering the pit road, hitting your marks, see the puff of smoke as drivers lock it into their boxes. Cameron Sarton now going to come into pit road. William Duff also expected to hit pit road here shortly. Those will be the last couple of drivers that need to make their pit stop, pit entry for the 24 machine, as get to see him around the corner is the 24. A slight wiggle is trying to hit those marks. Again, these drivers are going about 140 around the corners. They have to slow down to 55 miles per hour to go down this long pit stretch, or they can get in their box and have to come to a complete standstill, get the service done, then get back out on track. And if you speed at any moment of going over 55 miles per hour, you can find yourself with a penalty that would ruin your race. As drivers, pit cycle's almost completely done. We're still waiting for Alex Jones and William Duff to make their pit stops. That will fully complete our pit cycle here. And, you know, for those drivers that were hoping for this race to stay green, like Cedric Hunter and a couple of others, this is falling right into their hands if we continue to stay green.
Yeah, if this stays green, it can really fall into those hands of Cedric Hunter, Ross Tatum, Christopher Norris, and the like of those guys who have shown the long run speed right now. It should turn over to Jonathan Burt in the 6th. He was one of the first cars down pit road. He should inherit the lead once William Duff, Alex Jones pit. Then it'll be Will Bustler, Brian McCann, one of the earlier of the drivers who took up the pit stop of the drivers who had pitted at the stage break. He'll move up to, I believe, that of about 3rd position. Then you're going to have John Dart, Andrew Medlin, and then Ross Tatum, Cedric Hunter, and the guys behind him who seem to have the long run speed. But Sam, the 8, with that early pit stop, might have the track position. He might find himself getting into victory lane here tonight.
There are a couple of drivers that were aiming for a second green flag pit stop. That's going to be the 6th of John Burt, as well as Tyler Thomas. They're going to both have to make another stop, and Sam Siegel, as they've been out there for well over 45 laps. So it looks like 45 laps is that window you're looking for. And those drivers a little bit too far out. William Duff, though, based off what we saw from Cedric Hunter, he'll go another 3 to 2 more laps for the 77. Alex Jones, and that same picture of another 3 to 4 more laps before he needs to make his stop. With coming up to 30 laps to go, Will Bustler leads the charge of those that pitted early. Brian McCann, 3-lap advantage on his tires, just the second off of the 1 machine. And this is what we're expecting to turn into the battle for the lead as Bustler gets by Burt. And with 30 laps to go, we do have to also give a shout out to the amazing sponsors that help out here at Full Send Racing Series all season long. It's been the major 4 of ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. ButtKicker's been an amazing sponsor to have for this series, as if you would like to get a little bit more immersed into your gaming or viewing space, go get yourself a gamer too. Instead of just hearing the sounds, why not feel the sounds with ButtKicker as well for Next Level Racing. Next Level Racing is a great way to upgrade your racing setup. It's just being in a normal chair, maybe a desk. Why not feel like you're actually in a race car, getting yourself a racing rig? They've got plenty of different options, from wildly expensive options that'll really allow you to be feeling like you're in a vehicle, or you can go with more of a budget item that still gives you that same sensation, a little bit more compact scenario. Go on over Next Level Racing to go elevate your racing today. And Gersim Studios. Gersim Studios is a button box system that you'll find on Etsy. Gersim Studios allows you to have a control at your fingertips as these drivers drivers are all making changes on the fly when they're coming into pit road. You heard Trevor talk about brake bias. Well, a button box allows you to make those adjustments just as quickly as you need by just one push of a button. Go to Gerger Sim Studios, get your button box today. And your sponsor for today's race and a major sponsor of the series on the Throttle podcast. On the Throttle podcast has been a great coverage if you've been watching the last season of NASCAR, as that of William Duff, as well as Trey Jackson have been talking about NASCAR season and many other motorsports. Go check out their most recent episode 78, giving the recap of the championship weekend that NASCAR had just a few weeks ago. As the laps continue to tick on, what a race we've had so far. Trevor, under commercial break, kind of talked about it. This track, it's so incredible. It's a shame that it's no longer going to be in service in real life anymore, that it's being transferred into a short track. But, man, it is always awesome on iRacing when we get these races, and the race for the lead is now underway.
Yeah, race for the lead underway. Race for the drivers trying to catch up to that lead pack as the 8 of McCann has caught the 1 of Will Bustler, and then you've got Ross Tatum trying to close in on them. Cedric Hunter, Christopher Norris trying to close in on that battle. But yeah, this track, just it doesn't matter what cars you bring here. It could be anything from the iRacing Indy cars to the trucks, Xfinity cars, next gens, the COT cars. This track always puts on a great show. We get the Medlin cam here late into a run as he's still putting a lot of will into a lot of focus as he's trying to hold on and potentially get himself a top 10 run, as he's been passed by that of Hunter and Norris, and now trying to hold off Ken Campbell. But such a shame to see such a fun racetrack and such a fan favorite to get torn down and potentially rebuilt as what could be a very interesting short track.
Yes, so waiting on the official schemes on what real life Auto Club will turn into, but virtually we'll still get the 2-mile course in all of its glory here on iRacing and Freak Fast Broadcasting. A lot of great finishes we've covered here at this track as Medlin goes high, Ken Campbell goes low. This 15 went past on his team in Freak Fast Racing. As we'll also look back to a driver in 10th place, which, I mean, you got to give kudos on the fact that he's even in 10th place. Brandon Colley, what a roller coaster of a night this 99's been having. Being pushed down the apron a couple of times, has had some major slides. In the 99 is still in a fight for a decent run here this evening.
Yeah, this is what he needed after that bad performance 2 weeks ago at Nashville. Needed a good run here tonight. Didn't get the stage points that he wanted, and unfortunately for him, Ken Campbell up there in 7th, Norris in 6th, and Colley coming into tonight 2 points behind the 38 machine. Gonna kind of need to close that gap, but setting himself up for some decent momentum going into next week at the short track at Bristol. So, you know, could set himself up to potentially maybe steal a spot into that championship 4 at Kansas if he has a good run next week.
Trying forward is this 99 machine, but you see on screen it's the 7 of Cedric Hunter. Able to make his advancement forward. Christopher Norris, who pitted on the same lap as Cedric Hunter. What a job by Christopher Norris. Has cut down over a second just going into pit road and having a clean pit stop. And the 38 has now put himself in a decent chance of fighting for a win. If he could just stay in the kind of tracks of the 7, they're both marching forward. They just have to take it easy once they get up there, then start fighting and dueling it out between the 38 of Christopher Norris, that if he gets a win, he's locked into that final 4, one of our 8 drivers that made it into this round.
The pole sitter for tonight, just trying to follow the tracks of the 7 machine. Both of these guys about a 10th quicker than that of Brian McCann and Ross Tatum. 4/10 quicker than that of Will Bustler, but Bustler on those older tires really starting to fade back from the lead 2 and falling into the clutches of the 7 and the 38. But for Norris, he needs to stay with the 7. That way when he gets up there to Ross Tatum, Brian McCann, and starts to battle it, he can pull him along and give him an opportunity to make the pass. That's what we saw happen in the truck race last season here with Altus, John Dart, and I can't remember who the other driver was, but that's kind of what caused the catalyst to allow the John Dart to get that win last season, was the leaders battling hard, wrecking into each other. So if Norris can stay close, who knows what could happen here in the closing laps.
Last 2 seasons, the driver that's won of John Dart, he only led 1 lap, and Joshua Altus only led 3. The first driver to win was Chris Essery, who led 43 laps of 98. He led the most laps and got the pole, the only driver to do so. But the last 2 winners have neither led the most laps nor have gotten the pole. And Christopher Norris, he's trying to have a pole and get a win if possible, for the 38 machine as he marches his way past Will Bustler for himself. A few other drivers have made their pit stops. So talk about how a couple of drivers needed to make 2 green flag pit stops to make it to the end. That being Peter Dillon as well as Jonathan Burt. They've made their stops. Or that of Tyler Thomas still needing to make his final stop, as well as Sam Siegel, before they are 100% clear to make it to the end of this race. But one driver, when we talk about green flag pit stops, there's that Goldilocks effect. You're looking for drivers that sometimes they pit too soon, some drivers pit too late, and those look for right in the middle. Cedric Hunter might have found that middle portion, but back in 14th, Cameron Sarton might have stayed out a little bit too long. Came out of pit road all the way back in 18th position, and also had a very long stop. He was in pit road from the start of pit road to the end for over 50 seconds. On average, it was anywhere from 44 to 46 seconds that the rest of the field was in. Sarton stayed out, gave up time, and under pit road. That is a hurting moment for this 24 that was trying to steal win here tonight.
Yeah, I was trying to steal a win. Looked pretty good, but 5 seconds on pit road time, getting on pit road, getting in your box, getting out of your pit box, and back up to speed, really going to cost the 24 team here, unless there's a late race caution and some chaos on a restart. Not looking good for Cameron to get himself a good finish here tonight as he looks to the inside of Trey Jackson in the 88, trying to move forward, but 7 seconds, almost 8 seconds behind that of Brian McCann.
This just looks to be a mountain that's too high to climb. It was looking like the biggest threat to hold back Cedric Hunter and other drivers from getting a win this evening. Might have to sit back and just watch the show from a distance as Ross Tatum trying to make this pass for the lead. Our top 4 drivers all within a second of one another. They might be the only 4 drivers that battle for this win unless there's a caution flag that comes out as Brian McCann leading the way, but on the oldest set of tires of anyone in our top 4. After 17 laps, Ross Tatum, the second oldest, was 16. And then Cedric Hunter, Christopher Norris, both pitted 15 laps ago. Just a small advantage, would be a big enough one to get them into victory lane.
It could be, but I mean, we saw that tire wear doesn't necessarily matter with how quick Cedric Hunter was, considering how old his tires were compared to everybody else before that green flag pit stop. But who knows what's going to happen. Tatum really closing in on the 8 of McCann, who just doesn't look like he quite has the speed here tonight that he maybe would want, even though he's in the lead under pressure from the 21. And here comes the 7 and the 38, both closing in as Tatum's going to take a little bit of a peek to the inside, trying to get a good run out of turn number 2. You're going to have to use that draft down this long back straightaway to see if he can set up a move through 3 and 4.
Is the 21 close enough for a dive bomb move? Looks like he's closing in just a little bit more, but doesn't feel comfortable enough to dive it down low and get down to that white line. But you can see that a little bit more trust in the car. The center off the corner, throttled it up, got right to the back corner panel, a little bit lower, trying to utilize this traffic down on the distance. And Ross Tatum just trying to find small advantages. Where to go? Is the outside lane, is the inside. Currently, it's still waiting in the tracks. A little bit higher of a groove is going to be Ross Tatum, but Cedric Hunter is here. The 7 machine, just because Ross Tatum was being more patient and waiting for the long game, this 7 has now closed in the gap. And I mean, Trevor, 17 laps at a mile and a half, maybe at a short track, it feels like nothing. But at a 2-mile course where each lap is 42 seconds in length, we still have a lot of racing to go.
Oh, a ton of racing to go, a long way to go. And these last, 17 laps are going to feel like it's going to take forever for these drivers. When you're in the lead trying to defend, when you're in third trying to pass, you feel like you've got all the time in the world. You see the shimmying down the front straightaway, the blocking from the 21, trying to block the 7 of Cedric Hunter. But there he goes to the inside and got a great drive to the bottom. Almost got to the quarter panel of the 8. But going to be side by side with Tatum. Going to go for the slide job and slide up in front of the 21. The 7 now up to second.
Just like that, Cedric Hunter going to be taking the second place position, but Ross Tatum fights right on back, gets to the inside quarter panel of Hunter, and it will slightly slow down that 7 machine. But Cedric Hunter, instead of just allowing the 21 to get back in the fight, throttles it up in the center of the corner and almost went for a pass for the lead. He's got the momentum, and Hunter, not waiting for anyone else, says, I'll take this lead position. The nose trying to lead that lap, not able to do so. McCann leads that one, but it just looks inevitable that Cedric Hunter is going to take the lead, and he does so.
What a drive from Cedric Hunter. Norris trying to use that outside line to get around the 21 of Ross Tatum. not going to be able to do so, and now going to lose some time as he's stuck behind the older tires of Tatum and McCann. McCann with a great run, though. He's going to look back to the inside, doesn't want to give up this lead fight that easily to the 7 of Cedric Hunter. The 7, the 8 battling through 3 and 4. Here comes Norris to the inside of the 21. He's not going to be able to quite clear as he tried to slide up in front of that of Ross Tatum, but they're going to be side by side for third out of 4, and Hunter defends the lead to lead this lap.
Quick little shimmy by Ross Tatum, but he keeps the patience for himself. McCann tried to go march for a potential pass, wasn't able to do so. When you're seeing drivers exiting out of pit road, those are the drivers that have to go for a 2-stop under green. Tyler Thomas gets back out on track for the 11 machine. Other drivers just trying to hold on the best of their abilities. As side by side for third place, Ross Tatum, Christopher Norris, and Norris still not able to make the pass. And this 38, I mean, Trevor, it's tough when you're trying to stay in touch with the driver that you're on the same kind of set of tires. You both came into pit road on the same lap. But with Norris having 2 drivers in between himself and the 7 machine, this looks to be tough unless Norris can make these passes quickly and efficiently in just 2 laps.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to get these passes done pretty quickly. Looking at the lap times, Cedric Hunter with a 42.1, McCann with a 42.3, Tatum with a 42.2, and Norris on about the same speed as that of Tatum. So losing about a tenth and a half each lap to that 7 machine that he's stuck behind Ross Tatum and the 8 of Brian McCann out of the outside of the 21. He's going to try to see if he can get this pass down on the outside, but just really hasn't been able to get clear of that 21 machine. He keeps losing time to the 7 of Cedric Hunter.
Trying to pass it up and stay equal off the exit of the corner. Christopher Norris, this might be his best opportunity to make the pass. Has the better run, and finally up to third, but Ross Tatum just inching that nose out to the inside, was threatening to go down low. Instead, stays in line. Norris back to that third lane, practically fourth lane now, really using the track through the center of 1 and 2. And this is going to be a massive run. The 38's trying to just close in the gap, not lose any more ground. And that last lap go around, Cedric Hunter, the fastest car on track of anyone inside of our top 15.
I just having a great drive. I mean, you think back to, I believe it was Indianapolis, he was having a great run. It was equal with that of Zach Hall throughout the course of that race until a late race caution kind of, caused some chaos with some pit strategy. We saw a big block from Brandon Colley down the back straightaway that kind of took away an opportunity for the 7 to get a win. And kind of what could have been season for the 7 was a start and park early on. He's had great speed, just been caught up in some incidents, so a little bit of inconsistency. But here tonight, looking to get his first win as Norris tries to close in on the 8 of McCann. Cedric Hunter having to deal with a little bit of lap traffic up in front of him. But the top 4 kind of have this race all to themselves. It's about 3 seconds back to that of the 5th place running Tim Campbell.
Also seeing some other lap traffic as Cedric Hunter's trying to get by Christopher Melton. Tyler Thomas saw fresh rubber trying to march his way through this lead pack. And there's always that weird time of late in a race. How do you want to react as a lap car being put a lap down or trying to unlap yourself? Some drivers like to sit back and wait. Others like to get aggressive. But with 10 laps to go, Cedric Hunter just doesn't want to see anyone else close in. That's in second or third position on that rear bumper. Brian McCann under fire from Tyler Thomas. Christopher Norris not able to get by the lap traffic. And once again, it's now 3 drivers in between Norris and others, and it's soon to be others. This 38 went from maybe a chance to fight for a win to now under fire from lap traffic.
Yeah, you got to get through this lap traffic. You got fresh tires going through, old tires coming back. More fresh tires coming through, as I believe that's that's Tony Brent in the 28. Or no, I'm sorry, it's Jonathan Burt in the 6. Trying to get through on fresher tires and just costing Norris a little bit more time that he's losing to not only the 8 of McCann, but the 7 of Cedric Hunter. Cedric Hunter out to that of about a half a second lead over the 8 machine and about a second over that of Christopher Norris.
Drivers trying to make their way forward. Cedric Hunter just allows Tyler Thomas to blitz on by on the outside as Burt still not able to make this pass just yet on the 38 machine. Will do so. Christopher Norris, he's been running this top lane for so long. You know, he's got a question on his tires. Are those just burnt out and done? And he's just no longer to get down to that inside lane anymore. 8 laps to go here tonight for the On the Throttle Podcast 200 at Auto Club, the first race of the round of 8 to see who will run for a championship in Kansas in 2 weeks. Drivers know if they are not able to get a win and automatically lock themselves into that race in 2 weeks, they've got to deal with the last great Coliseum. To see these drivers fight it and duel it at Bristol, the short track madhouse that no one knows that they're going to be able to survive, let alone find themselves a victory lane. It's going to be a good one next week that you do not want to miss. We're seeing the 7 of Cedric Hunter continue to try to pull away from the rest of the field, but stay pretty equal distance. About 4 tenths to about 5 tenths is the difference between first and second.
Yeah, just running about equal lap times now between him and Brian McCann, so that gap's staying about the same. And you think about the points going into next week. If Cedric Hunter gets the win, no playoff driver guaranteed into that championship 4 race at Kansas. I mean, you think McCann would be safe based off the amount of points that he came into tonight, plus 28. If he finishes second, pretty well solidified on points into that championship 4. Zach Hall down there in 6th should feel pretty comfortable with his points going forward. But I mean, then you got Campbell, Norris, Tatum, Colley, Travis Dart not having the greatest of runs here tonight after that pit road issues, along with Chris Stitz down there in 20th and 19th and 20th. They're going to be in must-win situations, but from Campbell to Colley, they can come down to points. Anything can happen next week when we get to that short track at Bristol.
Yeah, I think based off if this race ends now and there is no white yellow that comes out, it's going to be a close 3-horse fight for who's going to get that 4th place in points. It's going to be very close. I know for Zach Hall, he should be feeling comfortable, but again, you got to remember, Zach Hall did not get any stage points for the 32 machine. Didn't get those stage points. A lot of the drivers that he's running around did get stage points and are either in front or around this 32 machine. So it's going to be very close on who's going to move on next week at Bristol. You're not going to want to miss it, but with 5 laps to go, Cedric Hunter has now gapped himself out to 6 tenths. A great lap by the 7 machine. He continues to try to pull away from Brian McCann, and McCann under pressure by the 6 of Jonathan Burt. Lap traffic helping Cedric Hunter here late.
Yeah, going to help the 7 out a little bit as Burt trying to get by on those fresher tires around the 8 of Brian McCann. The 21, Ross Tatum falling back a little bit, might fall into the clutches of Ken Campbell, who's trying to close in on that 4th place running machine of the 21 of Tatum. Tatum not losing too much ground to Christopher Norris. Norris kind of just stuck there in 3rd. Got the lap car Burt between him and McCain. Is those 3 kind of just all in the same gap to one another as Zach Hall and Campbell try to furiously close in, but running out of laps.
They're running out of laps, and it looks to be Hello Kitty feeling comfortable up front. That 7 machine. The rest of the drivers also thinking about how is next week going to go around. Travis Dart running back in 19th. Chris Stitz also in 20th. Both of those drivers might be in must-win scenarios going into Bristol next week. Tough pill to swallow, but once again, I still got to continue to give kudos. Brandon Colley, with all of his slides, all of his errors, and caught up in messes, 6th place is right now on the table for the 99 as he's battling with Zach Hall currently.
Yeah, just got by Zach, actually 3 wide with Zach and I believe the 93 of Melton as they go down the front straightaway. And that 99 machine just, had a couple of mistakes, been able to survive, now trying to get this position from last season's champ and what could be a really good run for himself, setting himself up to not be that far back from the cutoff line going into next week at Bristol.
Minimizing mistakes, minimizing any errors that could have popped up, and right now, staying steady and stable, was able to push out the fuel longer than anyone else, and now in a comfort zone, still a little bit under 6 tenths is the difference between 1st and 2nd, but Cedric Hunter, right now with 2 laps to go, this 7 machine just having a blast up front, enjoying himself, almost the cool down laps with the way he's running up front, staying ahead from Brian McCann.
Just got to get through 2 more laps, 4 more miles for this 7 machine. Does not want to see a caution, Sam, right now, as that would cause cause us to go into overtime. Just needs to get to see that white flag and can pretty much secure himself a win here tonight. And what's been, since the second half of this race, a pretty dominant performance for himself. Got up into the lead, fighting with Trey Jackson, gave up a little bit of positions, and then fought all the way back up to be side by side with Cameron Sarton before the pit strategy. Played it right. Here he comes to the white flag, searching for his first win.
Coming up to the white flag, it's your next level racing. A white flag for Cedric Hunter. No other flag will come out except for the checkered as the 7 just has to keep hitting his marks, defends the inside lane. Brian McCann still not able to pick up the speed that was necessary to lock himself into the championship Final Four, but he might have done just enough to feel comfortable going into Bristol. But it's the 7 of Cedric Hunter. He fought, he clawed many different chances that he thought he was going to get a victory lane. Started this season off as a starting Parker, showed threats and signs of victory lane, was poised for the 7 machine. But it took him all season. And tonight, for the On the Throttle Podcast 200, Cedric Hunter is a winner in the Full Send Racing Series.
It's got to feel good for Cedric Hunter to get that win, get the monkey off his back from what's been kind of a tumultuous season for himself. Like you said, started as a starting park, has had speed, had been involved in wrecks, but here he is tonight, getting himself a win here tonight. Brian McCann with a great second place run should automatically lock himself into the championship race at Kansas. Norris with a great run in third after being our pole sitter. Tatum and Ken Campbell rounding out your top 5. And Sam, what a race tonight. Only 2 cautions, I believe, here tonight. The stage break and 1 caution before that, and then long green flag runs and great racing throughout the course of the night.
Tonight broke a lot of trends, and that's what this season has been, is a lot of trend-breaking moments, and Cedric Hunter breaking another one. What a season it's been. Cedric Hunter now joins the class of drivers that have won this season, being the 10th different winner this season, and just showing to the field the what-ifs. If Cedric Hunter had made the playoffs, he could have been fighting for a championship with the way that he's been running during these playoff stint. But congratulations to the 7 machine. As we will step away, when we come back, we'll talk to our top 3. Cedric Hunter, Brian McCann, Christopher Norris, as you enjoy the smoke show of the 7 burning it down here at Auto Club. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show for the Full Send Racing series. We're trying to calm down because if you were just watching the burnouts by Cedric Hunter, he just did probably the coolest thing you could do. It's called a grip flip, but it's when you slide, you hit the grass, and it flips. And he landed it in victory lane and also gets the win here tonight. I don't know what was cooler, the win or the flip. We'll have to ask him as we go down to victory lane to Cedric Hunter. Cedric, congratulations on the win, but I don't know if we're more hyped about the win or you landing that flip. That was incredible. How are you feeling, man?
I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, I was expecting the car to tumble there. When I did my first burnouts going the right way, I felt the car kind of like pitch up on two wheels a little bit, and I was like, oh, it was close. And well, the second time around, it fully came over. So it was a good landing, though. We landed in that little checkered flag spot there on near the wall. So, I think if I'm going to rate myself here, I'm going to say 10 for 10.
I'd give you a 10 for 10 too, Cedric. But I mean, what a race tonight. You came in early there on that first caution, and then, you were able to keep up with the guys on fresher tires, get the lead back, pulled the right pit strategy out. Man, what was the key for you tonight, saving tires, and then kind of just reflect on your season? You started as a starting park, you've had speed, caught up in wrecks, but I mean, how are you feeling about after tonight and then the final two races coming up?
Yeah, the race didn't have practice pace at all. Qualifying was kind of mediocre, which is usually kind of my forte. So, going into it, just trying to learn as much as I could. I realized the bottom was really good. I noticed in the first run, Zach, maybe 5 positions or so behind me, was kind of just running down there and slowly creeping up. So I figured I'd try it for a bit while everybody else ran kind of the middle line. And, well, before we got that caution, I think around lap 20, I felt like I was, the pace was picking up, and so it was good. Like that lane seemed to work for the long run. So Kasha came out. Well, the only person I'm really racing for anything is Medlin, trying to get the 13th place. So as soon as I kind of saw him start, kind of poking his nose down to pit lane, I had to match it, and thankfully it was the right strategy. And then from that point on, it was just a matter of just saving our stuff as much as we could. I really wasn't expecting to drive back up to, was it the lead technically? I think I took over the lead right before pitting, like that corner. So, yeah, the pace was good. Season has been rough. Not my proudest one yet. Like you said, starting parks, we had a lot of technical problems throughout the season too, which I'm happy to say that I finally got that figured out and fixed. So it won't be a problem going forward. Unfortunately, they cost us a spot into the playoffs, and of course, I had to wait till after I was eliminated from contention to actually win a race. So I had a good last 2 to 3 weeks, and hopefully we can carry that on with some momentum and get ourselves a second win before the season's done.
Well, we know you're also very strong. Heading to Bristol next week. What is the confidence level going into Bristol and Kansas as our last 2 races?
Ooh, Kansas. Okay. So Bristol, I think will be good. Like my long run pace is always like pretty decent there. So hopefully we don't get too many wrecks, and I get to show that off a little bit. I think I'm feeling good. My expectations is like, I'd say maybe like depending on how the race plays out, assuming that there will be cautions, I'm going to say probably I'm hoping for a top 5 is what my expectations are. And then for Kansas, I love Kansas. It's definitely up there on probably one of my favorite tracks, just with how it races, how multi-groove and stuff it is. So that should be a good one. Hopefully we can get ourselves a win there. But obviously, I guess Kansas will be the championship 4 race, so there'll be plenty of guys that'll run far more practice than I will, so they'll be hard to beat.
Well, we cannot wait to see how you're going to perform in these next 2 races. But Cedric, before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
I appreciate it, man. As always, I want to give you guys a huge shout-out. I'm really looking forward to going back and rewatching this race. I think that the racing, at least from the car's point of view, is really good tonight. So hopefully reflects in the broadcast. Otherwise, I want to thank the league and the drivers. I've had my ups and downs with some of these drivers throughout the season, and but tonight, the racing was really good, and Thank you to Hack Racing. Most of my teammates weren't around for a good portion of the season, but hopefully Chris can get himself a good finish next week and lock his way into the championship race. And then thanks to Zach for pretty much everything he does. Helps me push myself on a weekly basis, and good job to the other guys on the podium.
Well, that will be your winner here tonight in the 7 machine of Cedric Hunter, being the 10th different winner this season. Congratulations, Cedric. Enjoy this one, and good luck in these final 2 races of the season.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
As we move from victory lane, we go down to second place. We're going to talk to the 8 machine of Brian McCann. Brian, congratulations on a second place finish. Once again, your consistency puts you in a great spot heading into next week. But man, how are you feeling after tonight's performance?
Doing good. I was just hoping to finish the race. I was aiming for top 5 playoff points wise. I'm looking pretty good with the bonus points, so I just didn't want to crash out. So I played it safe, and actually made some mistakes early on and put me back in the 19th at the start of that stage. So I just kind of rode around and somehow made it up to 5th on that green flag pit stop, and came back out. And I knew it was all going to be about tire management, and Cedric did it perfect. I just wore my right front a little bit too much, and couldn't get it going down into the turn right. But he was making that bottom line work pretty good.
Brian, you came into the night plus 28. You get a good solid second place finish tonight. Should lock you in points wise to not have to worry about Bristol going into that championship race at Kansas. Do you think ahead to Kansas and start preparing for that, or is your focus on Bristol and getting some momentum built up for that championship race at Kansas?
Yeah, and Bristol, short track, anything can happen. I'm not too worried about it. Not really going to try too hard for the win, just kind of get it over with. And then, like you said, my real aim's for Kansas for the championship race.
Well, Brian, we cannot wait to see how you're going to perform next week and at Kansas. But the floor is yours for any shout-outs before we call it a night.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my family, you guys for doing this broadcast, the league admins for putting this show on, our sponsors, and the drivers for showing up every week. And a big shout out to my sponsor, Repeat 1975. Thank you.
That's going to be the 8 machine of Brian McCann, going to be the highest finisher of our Elite 8 that are still running for a championship. Congratulations, Brian, on a second place finish, and good luck at Bristol next week.
Thank you.
As we move from second place, we go down to third position. Driver that snuck with the pole and sticks with the top 3 at the end of the day, Christopher Norris in 38 machine. Chris, congratulations on third. Man, how are you feeling after this run here tonight? And was that pole something you expected to grab at the start of the race?
No, so man, I wasn't expecting that finish at all. I knew at Michigan, these types of tracks in this car is maybe my strong suit. Mile and a half plus, I think it's like 2.5 miles to the Auto Club in Michigan. So knowing that knowledge, it definitely helped, but I definitely did not expect to win the pole, and I definitely did not expect to finish third.
Well, I mean, Norris, great run for yourself. We saw you trying to keep up with Cedric Hunter there after that last set of pit stops. I mean, what was it like trying to keep up with him, and just what was it like trying to make passes out there tonight? As it looked a little bit tough once you caught up to Ross Tatum and Brian McCann. Yeah,
I mean, with Cedric, we were just pretty much rolling. I knew he probably knew I was giving him no pressure. We were just trying to catch as soon as possible. I know definitely passing Will. The first time when I passed him, I think on the second run, it was pretty easy. But the last time, he didn't make it so easy, but rightfully so after last week. Ross Tatum, he's definitely in a tough point position, so I understand the racing. But trying to pass Will, Ross, and then try to catch up to Brian, I just accidentally bumped myself up. So not a whole lot I could do there, but still a pretty great finish.
I mean, Norris, we've seen you be very good at the short tracks this season and in this car. What is that confidence level heading into Bristol next week, heading to the last great Coliseum where anyone still has a mathematical chance of making it or not making it to the Final Four?
Yeah, man, I've finished Bristol pretty good my last few times. Almost got the win there actually in the Truck Series last time, so definitely going to try to keep that momentum up, especially now starting. So hopefully I can finish third tonight, second at Bristol, and first at Kansas.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Chris, congratulations on third here this evening. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Thank you. You guys, of course, for the great show you guys put on. I'm excited tomorrow night for that show. The league admins for the great show they put on as well. All the correct. And Steve as well for being Noise Control. My family, my mom, dad, and uncle for watching the show tonight. Customlids.com to get yourself a custom hat. And all the fans out there watching and supporting this league.
That will be your third place finisher, the 38 of Christopher Norris. Congratulations on a top 3 finish, and good luck at Bristol on trying to make the Final Four.
Thank you.
As we finish up here at our interviews, congratulations to that 7 machine of Cedric Hunter. I mean, Trevor, what a run for himself as we get the unofficial results up. But, I mean, Cedric finally getting that monkey off his back, the win the 7's been searching for.
Yeah, it's got to feel good for him. I mean, you just hear the elation in his voice, the kind of the realization that he finally got that monkey off his back. So it feels good for him. Ryan McCann doing everything he needed to do tonight to get himself locked into that championship race at Bristol. But damn, that race at Bristol, that's going to be a good one. Is we're going to have some close points battles to see who's going to get that 3rd and 4th position going into Kansas.
We certainly will. As here's your unofficial results for tonight's race. Winning is the 7 of Cedric Hunter, being our 10th different winner this season. We've had a lot of different winners as well as a lot of different pole sitters this season. With Brian McCann going to get 2nd, Christopher Norris now takes the award of most poles so far this season with 3. 38 gets 3rd. Ross Statham finishes with 4th. 5th goes to Ken Campbell. Zach Hall in 6th. Brandon Colley 7th. Cameron Sarn recovering to 8th. John Dart 9th. 10th goes to Christopher Wade, who had that first lap slide from 7th to last place, and he's able to come away with a top 10 finish.
Yeah, also involved in that first caution as well with the 93 of Melton. So a great recovery from Wade. But further on down, Trey Jackson got it there and led some laps early on, finishes in 13th. Medlin all the way down in 15th. Another kind of lackluster performance from that 12 machine. But I mean, the drivers you really got to circle down here further on down the field. The 17 of Chris Stitz all the way down in 18th position, needing a good run, came in -5. Doesn't get that here tonight, even with that kind of odd aggressive strategy that he took. Going to probably be in a must-win scenario into next week. And then Travis Dart all the way down in 24th. We saw the slide of him getting into his pit box on that green flag pit stop all the way down in 26 after what looked like what could have been a really good recovery run for him when he was up in 2nd all the way down there in 24th.
Yeah, just a major fall off for some of these drivers, and we're hoping to maybe come back after a situation where some drivers were not happy with their finishes, others will take what they've got. And tonight will be the end of the first race of 2 for the round of 8. Our final one will be next week at Bristol to figure out who's running for a championship. We have 8 drivers. We'll cut it down to 4 that will run at Kansas for that championship. What a pleasure to give you all the coverage here tonight at Auto Club for the On the Throttle Podcast 200. Cedric Hunter is into victory lane for the first time the full 7 racing series. Congratulations to that 7 machine. Well, you kind of got a preview of Christopher Norris, giving a little bit of a talking point on it. Tomorrow night, it is the opener for Season 8 of the WSSR Roast to the Gems Cup Series. And Trevor, happily to hear, you're going to be out there on track. Tomorrow night's going to be a fun one, the 08 Daytona for the Gen 4 cars. Trevor, I know that there was a little bit of a practice run the other night. What are you feeling getting prepared for that race?
It's going to be fun. Making a return to WSSR. Haven't run with those guys for a little while. Haven't made an appearance on a Freaky Fest race in a league in a while. So it's going to be good to get back involved in that and hear you guys make fun of me and my lime green machine. But it's going to be a fun race. You think of 08 Daytona, bumpy. The Gen 4 cars are a handful around there. Close racing, can't really bump one another. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We saw some 3-ride racing yesterday, a little bit of a practice race that we did. Saw some chaos and calamity involved, and I expect to see some of that again tomorrow. But those guys are a really competitive group, always put on a good race. Really looking forward to being a part of that league for a little bit of their season.
And we're excited for it. And we got a lot of new drivers coming in. Kind of talked about last season with Joshua Altus on the fact that WSSR feels more like an all-star series of everyone coming together, but certainly we're going to be seeing some other new things coming along. We got some new things. If you want to check it out, you got to watch tomorrow night's race. But also, we're going to have a new commentator with me up in the booth, Justin Malarkey. Excited to see how his debut with Freaky Fast Broadcasting is going to go. And we're excited to see how the race as a whole will go as well. Well, thank you again for joining with us on your Tuesday night for the Full Send Racing series. For myself, Sam Dyer, as well for Trevor Earhart and Robert Moyer Jr. here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you for joining with us. As well, if you haven't done it already, hey, why not look down, see if you've subscribed to the channel. If you haven't already, it really helps us out here at the broadcast team, but it also helps out the drivers. The more eyes that look at these races, the more that these leagues are able to get sponsorships and drivers can get noticed by racing teams. So help out by subscribing, liking, commenting. What was your favorite moment of the race? And we will see you tomorrow night as we get prepared for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. It's a new season opener, and that will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.